everybody, and welcome to the big game edition of Proline, our last football edition of the season, and of course we'll be focusing on the game between the Ravens and the 49ers this weekend. Great matchup, plenty to break down as far as the matchup itself and props are concerned. Paul Bovi's here, world champion handicapper Jim Feist, myself, I'm Dave Cokin. Before we get into anything, let's tell you about some specials we've got for this weekend. It's going pretty good for me right now in basketball, and I'm excited about this weekend. Yes, there's going to be a football game. There's also going to be money to be made in college basketball. I've got two huge games on Saturday, two conference college basketball games of the year. Both games for only $19. If you sign up early, I've got an under-the-hat parlay that goes tonight as a bonus. No extra cost for that. This is three big plays for only $19. Make the call now, 1-866-896-1629. Again, an under-the-hat parlay to get you rolling tonight. Two monster games on Saturday, both conference games of the year, and they're yours for $19. 1-866-896-1629. Jim, smoking Saturdays for you. You have been taking the busiest day of the year, busiest day of the week to just unload. And the numbers have been really impressive.
Dave, when you look at the college basketball card every Saturday, it's so humongous. It takes so much time to analyze these games, and it's actually overwhelming. So, anything between 4 and 6 hours to analyze the whole card. And what I try to do mostly is focus on teams that I feel the most comfortable with, and try not to extend myself into conferences or events that I don't know enough about. And that's really helped me quite a bit. Now, granted, if there's something where there's a soft spot that pops up in one of these off conferences, I try to take advantage of it, but that's more informational. Either I'm getting some kind of information or I'm not. But Saturday, 10-5 with all plays. That's 2 Saturdays ago, 12-6 this past Saturday, including my NBA total of the month on the Knicks and 76ers under. Topped it off with a 9-3 Sunday as well. Friday is February 1st. I'm offering 28 days for $28. That's $1 a day, that will include my Super Bowl plus a high roller release. 3-play college basketball countdown this Saturday. 3 games of the year. That's all 3 for $5. First 100 callers get the Super Bowl. 1-866-841-1655. That's 1-866-841-1655. 28 days, $28, or just you pay $5 and you get those 3 big plays, or you can do both. Absolutely. 1-866-841-1655. And we have free plays each and every day. Just text WINNER, WINNER, to 313131.
All right, let's do some props. We have some. I have to tell you, I like the dumb props. I'm not. I will tell you, I don't. And the reason for this is there are some guys who take the props very seriously and do extremely well with them. I don't. I just don't really know how to handicap them. And I'm not going to spend time. It's my philosophy is that, excuse me, I got 100 and something college basketball games to look at on Saturday where I think I can get a real edge. I don't really care about the props, but there's some beauties here. And I like taking the dogs on these. They're always set up to take the favorite. But I think you bet dog, you got a shot. Will Alicia Keys add at least one word of the official U.S. national anthem? The no is minus 300. The yes is plus 200. I need a clarification on this. And I want to find out about it. Is add at least one word, does that also include getting one word wrong? Because in effect, that would be adding a word. And if the answer, if she's adding a word that's not there because she misses a word, then I want the yes. She'll get a word wrong. I'll take 2-1 on that.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something with this national anthem thing. And I'm living proof of it because last year I bet Kelly Clarkson under 134, and the books graded it at 134.2 in order to justify the side that they had. So, it was clear what side they needed when they went to tenths of a second. And I find that a lot of these props, and you have to be very careful, subject to interpretation.
That's why I want to know. I got to know.
Added word. Well, that's what she could go during the course of the national anthem, and it may or may not be a yes or a no, depending on what side the book needs. So proceed with care and caution on these types of props because they're not always based on ethics when it comes to grading.
Taking all the fun out of it, Paul. How many times will Jack...
It's called caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware.
I like it when you speak Latin. How many times will Jack Harbaugh be shown on TV during the game? The over-under is 1.5 with the over-favored minus 140, even money on the under. I got to think, and again, clarification needed during the game. Was during the game, I mean, they're going to show him after the game, right? But that doesn't count. That's not during the game. I don't know that there'll be more than, I don't think they're going to make a habit of going back there and showing the Harbaugh family. I'm going under 1.5. I think they'll get one look at some point, but I don't think they'll dwell on it. And the reason I say
how hot his wife is, too.
Look, I mean, she's my age, or she's older than that. What am I saying? No, I think there's a last year, I would have lost this prop last year. There was a prop on how many times they'd show Peyton Manning. It was way under. Okay, they had like 4. It was a big number, and it was way under. They showed him like once during the whole game. So I think you're going to take the same attitude with the Harbaughs, who they'll get their TV time before the game and after the game, but that's not during the game. You have to read these props very carefully. All right, here's the last one of the stupid props. We'll get to some good ones. If Ray Lewis is interviewed on TV after the game, on the field or in the locker room, how many times will he mention God or Lord? Over and under is 3.
Over.
Okay, I got to go over on that.
Over.
Might be the best prop out there.
Over.
Way over.
What's the price?
I think it might be even both ways. Well, not even.
Now, how does Jesus factor into that?
Well, it says specifically.
Well, I'd have to say they're going to.
Does that count?
It specifically says God/Lord. Deer antlers is not mentioned in this prop, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. The over and under on mentioning that is 0. All right, let me get to some good props. Here we get to some actual football props. Longest completion for Joe Flacco, over and under 40.5.
Over.
I like the over there. I think he's going to hit a big pass at some point in this game. Paul?
I would say he's probably going to go over, but this is kind of a prop where I tend to shy away from. If I was going to go with a Joe Flacco prop, I'd probably go over in the yardage for reasons that I mentioned before, because his playoff productivity has been at a much higher level than his regular season productivity. 235, 238, 239, depending upon where you get it. And he's exceeded that in 5 out of the last 6 starts. So I'd probably go over on his yardage. As far as longest completion, I don't know. He could end up getting a touchdown pass from the 38-yard line and you're screwed.
Yep. Total quarterback sacks in the game. This is really interesting because you've got some interesting numbers to tie into this. The total's 4.5. And when you look at the two defenses, you say, boy, these are two aggressive defenses. Kaepernick can get sacked. And certainly Flacco's a pocket guy, and the 49ers might get to him. But look at this. 49ers, they played 2 games, they got 2 sacks. And one of those was against Green Bay, which had a horrible offensive line. Kaepernick's only been sacked once in the 2 games. Joe Flacco, he's had 4 total sacks against him in 3 games. But here's the one that's shocking in a way. the Ravens did not, as badly as the Patriots played last week, and they stunk in that game. Tom Brady, who passed 54 times in the game, was never sacked. So they were playing a lot of coverage against, and they did a great job. That was smart. They played coverage against Brady. Now, I don't know that they can play that kind of defense here, because if they're concentrating on coverage that much, this guy will take off and run on him, which they didn't have to worry about Brady doing. Brady's turned into Drew Bledsoe as far as his mobility is concerned. He's a statue out there now. He couldn't even run 3 yards for a first down late in the game when there was nobody near him. Kaepernick, this guy takes off. See you later. So I actually think that there's going to be. I disagree with this. On our sheet here, it's under 4.5. I think there's going to be more than 4.5 sacks in this game. I think they're going to get Kaepernick a couple of times. I also think he's going to burn Baltimore. And I think the 49ers will find a way to pressure Flacco a couple of times. So I think it's real tough on the number.
A lot of these,
the way that it's been playing, and San Francisco hasn't been getting sacks. I don't think Aldon Smith has had a sack in 4 or 5 games, and it really goes back to I can't remember this fellow's first name, Justin or Jason Smith, the defensive lineman for San Francisco. He got hurt, and when he got hurt, Aldon Smith's sacks fell way off, and since he's even come back, he's still not getting sacks, and Brooks isn't getting any either. And this is where I think San Francisco's defense has fallen down, is because they are not getting to the quarterback. And I really don't know football well enough to know why that's happening, but they aren't getting it.
Part of that was Aaron Rodgers can burn you with his legs. I mean, you commit against him, he's going to kill you. I think that had something to do with it. Last week, it was just such a weird game last week because Atlanta did whatever they wanted early, and then the 49ers figured out what to do, and they just completely snapped them in the second half. It's more on the other side. I actually think Baltimore will sack Kaepernick a couple of times because I think they're going to gamble against him. If they play the defense they played last week as well as it worked against the Patriots, I don't think that will work here against this team. They're going to have to mix it up.
No, they're not. They're not going to play that defense. They're going to play some kind of a zone because they can't play man to man because they can't have these guys turn around. The cornerbacks I'm referring to. So they're going to face up to the quarterback. As far as the sacks go, a lot of this is situational in nature. If you get one team that extends to a 14-point lead and the opposition ends up dropping back to pass every play, well, yeah, you got more of a propensity for sacks. If the game is tight, I think you're going to have less of a chance to exceed that number. So you have to factor all these other things into your handicapping when you go for these propositions. And in this case, there are other things to consider.
All right, let me throw a couple of quotes at you. This is interesting stuff. This is from Jimmy Vaccaro, one of the all-time great guys here in Las Vegas. Jimmy was with William Hill now, and he believes that Kaepernick might just become the most bet-on player in Super Bowl history. Played his college ball in Reno, obviously. Vaccaro says people in the state can't wait to place a prop bet on him. We put 10 props on him last week and generated more than $100,000 in bets. To put that in perspective, a good prop is when you can draw 2,500 to 5,000 in bets. They're going to have at least 20 props on Kaepernick alone for the Super Bowl. 100 yards rushing, 300 yards passing. More pass attempts for Kaepernick or LeBron James points scored against the Raptors. What will he throw first, a touchdown or a interception? He'll be the most bet-on player since prop bets were invented, which was back in the most bets that anybody's gotten since they were invented back in Super Bowl 20 is Peyton Manning. But Jimmy says, I've never seen interest in prop bets like I've seen with Kaepernick. We think we can do $300,000 in Kaepernick prop bets alone, and that's a conservative estimate. And that's one book. Isn't that amazing?
Whoa.
That's amazing.
Whoa, that's incredible. I mean, going back to Harbaugh making the change from Smith to Kaepernick, I wasn't in favor of it. I thought, man, you're really rolling the dice. This other guy's playing pretty good. But hats off. I mean, this is a very interesting character. This Kaepernick's a big, strong guy, 90-mile-an-hour fastball, drafted for baseball. He turned that down for football. He throws the football like a 90-mile-an-hour pass. Runs, he's very fast. The defensive players for Green Bay said they had no idea how fast he was. He's a unique player. I mean, we had other running quarterbacks in football, over the years. But I don't think anybody quite liked this one. I mean, he's very athletic with a big arm, and he's physically big and tough. Where you have RG3 is a small guy, Russell Wilson's a small guy. Comparatively, this guy's big, and he's very fast.
He's smart, too. He does not take the contact like RG3 does. He's savvy enough to get rid of the ball, get out of bounds, get out of the way, which is the key to longevity in this league and also staying in this football game. Now, armed with this information, Colin Kaepernick, do you think it would inspire him to take off a little bit more than usual and exceed the betting number? And that's a matter of ego. It depends on the individual. If he knows his betting number, and I'm sure he does, that especially living in Nevada or being from Nevada, that it's 49.50, whatever it is now, and I think it opened 44. Does it kind of give him an incentive to run a little bit more? And I think you got to ask that question. I believe yes. I believe that if he wants to set some records in this Super Bowl and have the fans cash a ticket on his behalf, that you might just see him run a little bit more than usual.
I've made some bad predictions in my life, and I've made some good ones. One of the best might turn out to be draft day last year, 2 years ago actually, when Kaepernick's in his second year. And I made the prediction that I thought Colin Kaepernick, drafted in the second round, might turn out to be the best of that entire rookie crop. I saw him play at UNR. Remarkable talent. By the way, from the It Figures department, the team that drafted him in Major League Baseball, it was the Cubs. Just kind of It Figures. All right,
let's get it. I'm telling you.
Yeah. You guys do you have any props that you want to mention before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I do. We talked about the sacks, and we talked about Flacco over 40.5, which I like the over, and I like the under the sacks. We also have, I've seen some on the running game situation. I think what's going to happen is last week Atlanta had pretty good results stopping Kaepernick from running because they closed off the corners. But what happened in that, you can't cover everything. Yeah. So when they did that, they kept Kaepernick inside. He only had 20 yards, and I think that's going to happen again. But what happened was the middle opened up, and James and Gore are going to get big yardage. So there's some props out there. I like Gore over. I like James over whatever total they have on him. I like Gore to have more rushing yardage than Rice. I would say Flacco's going to have more passing yardage than Kaepernick because that's the nature of their business. The running game, I think San Francisco will dominate that. Probably get, I'd say their rushing yards might exceed 150 yards in the game, for San Francisco. Just by virtue of the fact that they have to defend a running quarterback where San Francisco doesn't have that issue. They don't have to worry about Flacco taking off and running not that he can't run because he's athletic as well, but that's not his style. So I think San Francisco is going to exceed the rushing yard totals that's posted out there.
Well,
I would agree with you on Gore. In fact, I took him over 78.5. I think the number's up to 81.5. I would kind of shy away from the Gore versus Ray Rice because I don't like these head-to-head matchups because it kind of puts it on two things. You have to worry about two things as opposed to one. I'd rather just have Gore exceed his number and not have to worry about Ray Rice busting off a huge gain from his own 20-yard line. I do like Dennis Pitta. I feel he's gotten some chemistry going with Flacco. He's been targeted 35 times in the last 5 games Flacco's completed 26. His number is sitting around 45, 46, and he's exceeded that 5 out of the last 6 games, the only game being the Indy game where he only had 2 catches for 20-some-odd yards. But the chemistry is definitely there. Flacco has spread the ball out. Bolden and Smith, each about 110 catches. Pitta, 94. Rice, 85. So he does spread that ball around, but I feel that Pitta is definitely going to get some balls in his direction.
Let's talk about something that happened yesterday with Randy Moss. No, he did it again. He's the best wide receiver that ever played the game, of course. I don't know where he came up with that, because there was a guy by the name of Jerry Rice that probably triples all his stats. But Moss, as far as this game is concerned, you would have to think that the Baltimore defense is going to concentrate on Crabtree and that was a Vernon Davis, and Moss, who's still very good at what he does, will be open for some more receptions and yardage and maybe touchdowns in the game.
I like the over. Paul, you grabbed mine. I like the over on Dennis Pitta. I think he's going to be 50 to 60 yards. Total's 47.5. I'll go with the over. That's going to be my best bet.
Actually, 47.5 was the opener. I'm stuck with the bad number. It dropped immediately to 44.5, and it's floating around there, 44.5, 45.5. And it's funny, when I made the wager, I said to a known guy in Vegas, I said, this number should be 44.5, but I don't see anything else out there, so I'm just going to play it. And I should have known when they didn't bump the number up when I maxed out on the bet. Well, it moved to 44.5 the next day, and I ended up with the bad number. Bet it again, okay? Because if you like it at 47.5, you got to bet it at 44.5. And I agree with you, Dave. I think the chemistry's there. My only concern with this wager is that they'll end up putting a cornerback on him, which is what happened last week late in the game. In one of the championship games, they put a cornerback on Tony Gonzalez late, and it proved to be a worthwhile strategy. So that's something to be leery of, because obviously the matchup advantage isn't there, because cornerbacks generally have the speed to cover the tight end.
I'll give you one more, and I'm going to use this as my best bet as we head to that. There's a prop for total number of players to throw a pass over and under 2.5. Well, obviously you got the 2, are Flacco and Kaepernick. If anybody else throws a pass, it's going over. Neither one of these teams is a trick play team. It's just not in their nature. I don't think either Harbaugh is into that stuff. They're basic guys. I don't think you'll see anything along those lines. I believe the only 2 players to throw a pass in this game, unless somebody gets hurt, obviously, will be Colin Kaepernick and Joe Flacco. I like the under 2.5. That'll be my best bet for the show. A reminder, really want to get a couple of big bets this weekend. Starts on Saturday. I've got 2 conference games of the year going on Saturday in college basketball. The big plays have been very good. And you get them both for $19, plus an under that parlay in hoops that goes tonight. That's a bonus. So you're going to get 3, actually it's 4 huge plays. No, it's not an under that parlay. Excuse me, I missed what it's just an under that play. So it's three huge plays. And it's $19 for all 3. 1-866-896-1629 is the number to call. Jim, how about a best bet in, again, let people know about this massive weekend that you've got. Actually, a tremendous month of February you offer.
Yeah, it really massive. The best bet's really hard for me to come up with, because there's so many of them that I really like. I like Flacco over the yardage. I like Flacco for the 40.5. I think that probably the best one I would have is Gore to have more rushing yards than Ray Rice. I just don't think Rice is going to be able to handle arm. Gore to have over 81 yards. I guess that's the number now. And as I mentioned, a money line bet on San Francisco. You want to lay the 3, buy it down to 3.5 if you can. But the money line bet, for me, I'd lay 3,600 to win 2,000. I think they're going to win the game. And I'd probably feel more comfortable laying points with San Francisco if they weren't having these problems with their field goal kicker. And he's just as likely to make a field goal than miss it, which is very unusual for a professional kicker. But he's had a terrible year. And so there's a lot of things behind that, but I gave you a lot of different things to think about. 2 weeks ago, 10-5 on Saturday. Last week, 12-6. I've got 28 days for $28, including the Super Bowl plus a high roller release. That's $28. That's $1 a day. 3-play college basketball countdown on this Saturday. 3 games of the year, all 3 plays for $5. First 100 callers also get the Super Bowl, which I have a very big play that I'm holding back right now. 1-866-841-1655. Make the call, win some money, and next week on Tuesday you'll be collecting.
Or sooner. Might be collecting on Sunday night. It's cash talk.
Well, if you're playing offshore or in Vegas, that's true. You can collect anytime.
Paul, you got a last word?
My last word is just go with Gore over the total. He'll carry the ball probably 23 or 24 times, probably rack up at least 95 yards. He'll cash a ticket.
All right, I have one question, a surprise question for Paul Bovi before we wrap it up, because Paul's huge in the NBA. The Lakers have gotten hot. Is it a fluke, or are they making a playoff run? And by the way, if they get in the playoffs, you never know.
Yes, as a Knicks fan, I know that because they got to the finals in 2000 from the 8th seed, okay? So it's all about making the playoffs, and yeah, they would have to have a miraculous finish to make the playoffs based on their current record. It's possible, but I still think this team is just too old. They're not getting enough productivity out of Dwight Howard. I never thought Dwight Howard was a great center, even when he was with Orlando. I was very critical of him. And unless he somehow goes through a metamorphosis and becomes this great center, I don't think the Lakers have the youth and the talent to get through this season and get into the playoffs and on through it. The Lakers, if they do get into the playoffs as an 8 seed, will be eliminated quickly.
I agree. All right.
I'd like to add something about college basketball, Dave, for a second. Last night I watched Kentucky against Mississippi. And the road game for Kentucky, they were ranked early in the year. This is a team that every year all their players go to the pros. So this is basically almost a total freshman ball club, very young. And they seem to be coming into their own. By far, the most impressive performance by a college basketball team against a quality team that I've seen this year. We talked about it earlier. I just made a play on Kentucky at 25-1 to win the whole thing. Now, granted, that's a long shot. That's a long way to go. A lot of things can happen. They are young, but that's tremendous price. So that I don't think the price should be anywhere near that high.
I was very happy with that Kentucky result, by the way. I had that as an under-the-hat play, and it was my online play. It worked out beautifully. I think it was my dog of the month. Love games like that. All right.
Nice.
Big stuff coming up this weekend.
Play.
Take advantage of the offers. We'll talk to you after the Super Bowl. For Paul Bovi, Jeff Side, of course, from Las Vegas Sports Services, who joined us as our man in the street. For Jim Feist, I'm Dave Cokin. Have a lot of fun this weekend. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Remember that. People get themselves in a mess. This is for amateur bettors. For the guys who are watching that play on a regular basis, you're fine. But for the once-a-year guys, don't go over your heads. Have some fun with this, and good luck. We'll talk to you very soon here on Proline. See ya.